Strobe Studios presents Michael Helgens and Greg Kilberger in The Watson Files. Coming to you from the illustrious Strobe Studios in the heart of America, this is Craig Dahlen. Have you thought about doing advertising, but don't have the money, equipment, or know how to record a commercial? Contact the experts at Strobe Studios. You'll be pleasantly surprised with a low-cost, high-quality product that'll get your company's name out there. Check us out online at strobestudios.com. And now, let's join the doctor and see what story he has for us today.
Come in. Good evening, Mr. Dahlen.
Good evening, Doctor. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Although I've been dying to hear tonight's story.
Yes, I didn't give you many clues as to its content, did I?
No, certainly not. But judging by the clues you gave, I'm assuming the story centers around the death of a real estate broker.
As a matter of fact, it does. A well-known woman by the name of Lindsay Bailey.
And so you and Holmes were investigating another unusual death.
Well, actually, I did most of the investigating this time.
Is that so?
Yes. It all began on a lazy Saturday morning. Holmes was out of town on vacation, and it was supposed to be my day off. So I was enjoying a hearty breakfast of eggs with biscuits and gravy at a local diner. I was reading the paper, as I always like to do, when I received a call from Holmes. It seems that even on vacation, he can't keep his curiosity in check.
So, have you seen the front page today?
Are you talking about Mrs. Bailey's murder?
Yes.
Well, according to the paper, she was shot in her bedroom yesterday morning, and the police have no suspects.
Yes, but how often do they get those types of details correct?
I suppose that's true. Well, at any rate, I'm surprised they haven't called you in to assist yet.
That's why I think they probably do have a suspect.
Perhaps. So, what's your interest in the case, then?
Well, I've been asked to look into the circumstances surrounding the murder.
So the police have called you in, then?
No, Watson. Actually, it was Mr. Patterson over at Foster Bryant Insurance.
Insurance?
Yes. Apparently she had a rather large life insurance policy.
And they want us to make sure that they don't pay out when they don't have to.
Precisely.
All right. Well, I'm nearly finished with breakfast, and then I have the whole day free.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Where would you like me to start?
Well, no sense redoing work. Why don't you check with Officer Weathers down at the station and see what they've got so far?
Sounds good. I'll let you know what I find out.
Dr. Watson, what are you doing here?
Officer Weathers, just the man I was looking for. I've been asked to look into the murder of Mrs. Bailey.
Yeah, well, don't look too hard. We just arrested the husband.
The husband?
Yes.
Well, do you mind if I take a look at the evidence, just to satisfy my curiosity?
Be my guest. The file's on the desk over there.
All right, thank you.
Good to see you again, Doctor.
Likewise.
Watson, what have you discovered?
Looks like you were right, Holmes. They did already have a suspect.
So you talked with Weathers?
Yes, they arrested the husband this morning.
The husband?
Yes, that should make Mr. Patterson happy. I'm guessing the policy has a non-murder clause in it.
One would certainly think so.
I'm looking through Weathers' files on the case right now.
Good plan. It can't hurt to double-check.
This looks like Dr. Samuelson's initial autopsy findings.
And what does it say?
Well, it seems pretty straightforward. There was a gunshot wound to the back of her head and no other signs of injury, so that would appear to be the cause of death.
It is rather hard to shoot yourself in the back of the head, so suicide seems unlikely.
Indeed. There's a picture of the body here.
And?
She has some atrocious lipstick on. Bright red.
I doubt she was killed by ugly makeup.
Almost makes her look like a clown.
Jack, what about the cause of death?
Ah, yes. Well, there's no question about the gunshot wound to the head.
Okay. What is it?
I'm not sure. Just a feeling. I can't quite put my finger on it. The bright red lips just seem out of place with the rest of her makeup, I guess.
Enough with the lipstick. Didn't you say she was killed in her bedroom? Maybe she hadn't finished putting her makeup on yet.
That's the other thing I was going to mention. They said she was found in her bedroom, but there's not enough blood. Perhaps she was shot someplace else.
Now that is interesting.
Indeed. Ah, here's a report on the gun. Looks like it was registered to her husband.
Not surprisingly.
And, of course, his fingerprints will probably be on it.
No doubt, although that proves nothing since it is his gun.
Yes. The gun alone doesn't seem like enough to arrest him.
Why don't you check with Weathers and see what else they have?
All right. I'll get back to you when I find out more.
Sounds good.
Officer Weathers, I've got a few questions if you have a minute.
Sure. No problem. What's up?
Well, I saw the autopsy report and that you matched the bullet to the husband's gun, but that doesn't really seem like enough by itself. Who found the body?
Her assistant, Mr. Morgan. When she didn't come into work yesterday, he went to check on her. The back door had been kicked in and he found her on the floor in the bedroom.
And I assume you checked out his story.
Yes, of course. Dr. Samuelson puts the time of death between 7 and 8, and we have several people who confirm that he was already at work at that time.
And the husband probably does not have an alibi.
Well, according to his secretary, he arrived at 8 o'clock as usual, but it's only a half-hour drive, so he could have easily done the deed before leaving home. And a neighbor reports hearing them argue, and then around 7:30 or so there was a loud bang, which in hindsight she says may have been a gun. We figure he kicked in the door to make it look like a robbery.
Okay, well, it sounds like a reasonable conclusion. They were arguing, he had no alibi, it was his gun, typical domestic, heat-of-the-moment type of thing.
That's exactly what we were thinking.
There is one other thing that's bothering me, though.
What's that?
From the pictures of the crime scene, it doesn't look like there was much blood.
Yeah, we noticed that. The current theory is that he shot her in the tub and washed most of it down the drain.
Ah, okay. Well, thank you for your help.
No problem.
Watson, what did you find out?
Well, Weathers claims that she was shot in the tub, hence the lack of blood in the bedroom.
But you don't believe him?
I don't know. I just still have the feeling like we're missing something.
Okay, so what's your plan now?
I'm looking around in the Bailey's backyard.
For what?
I don't know exactly. Maybe she wasn't even shot in the house.
Do you see any drag marks or anything?
No.
Watson, what's going on? What's that noise?
Holmes, you disappoint me. I would think by now that you would know what breaking and entering sounds like.
You're breaking into the house?
Yes, well, somebody's got to do it, and you're not here, so...
Are you in?
I'm in the garage. Now, hopefully, they leave the door to the house unlocked. Nope.
Lots of times people will leave a key hanging somewhere nearby. Look above a workbench or behind something hanging on the wall.
Okay. No, nothing here. No. Wait a minute.
What is it?
I think... Yes. I know what happened yesterday.
What? What did you find?
There's a hose hanging on the wall, and it has... No. Hold on. I'm going to make you wait for once.
What? Come on, Watson, out with it.
Call Mr. Patterson over at Foster Bryant and let him know that they're going to be able to keep their money. I need to go see Officer Weathers. I'll call you back in an hour. All right. Everyone is here?
I don't understand. What's going on here? Mr. Morgan, we just have a few more questions for you. This is Dr. Jack Watson. He consults with us from time to time. Okay.
And if you don't mind, my associate Spencer Holmes will be joining us via speakerphone.
Yeah, sure, I guess.
Can you hear us okay, Holmes?
Yes, loud and clear.
Good. So, Mr. Morgan, you told the police that you found Mrs. Bailey's body around 10 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes?
And where did you find her?
In her bedroom, on the floor.
Okay. Did you often go into her house to check on her?
No, she was never late for work before. I've only ever been in her house a couple of times, for an office party or something.
And how did you get into the house?
The back door was open.
Ah, that's right. It had been kicked in, hadn't it? So, when you entered the house, what did you do?
I called out to see if anyone was home. Then I walked through the kitchen, the living room, and up the stairs, where I found her lying in the bedroom.
So, you weren't in the garage at all?
No, of course not.
Well, then maybe you can explain this.
What about it?
Well, we found your fingerprints on it, for one thing.
Well, I recall that now at one of her parties, I think I'd helped her fill up the swimming pool.
Uh-huh. Well, that doesn't matter, because you're still lying. See this gray sticky stuff on the end of the hose? That's from duct tape. We found the same stuff on the tailpipe of the car.
She killed herself.
Yes. That's what was bothering me before, the red lips.
Not the lipstick again.
No, Holmes, that's the thing. It wasn't lipstick. Carbon monoxide poisoning causes the lips to turn bright red.
But when I found her, she had been shot.
No, I don't think so.
There's only one question left. Did you rig up the hose and kill her, or did you just cover up the suicide?
All right, fine. I found her in the garage. I couldn't let her memory be spoiled like that, so I dragged the body upstairs, found the gun, and shot her.
And then you kicked in the door to make it look like a robbery.
Yes.
But what happened to all the blood then?
Ah, yes. Well, since she had been dead for several hours, the heart was not pumping, and therefore there was not much bleeding.
So, Mr. Bailey is completely innocent then?
It looks like it.
John? Was he a suspect?
Yes, we've had him in custody for several hours now.
Oh, no, I've really messed things up.
Yes, I'm afraid you have. And now you're under arrest. Let's go.
Well, good work, Watson.
Thank you, Holmes.
It is rather strange, though, don't you think?
What's that?
Well, a rich woman like her driving an old car like that.
Holmes? How did you know she had an old car?
Well, I just assumed. You said the neighbor heard a loud bang like a gunshot.
Yes.
Well, since the gunshot wasn't until later in the morning, the bang must have been the car backfiring.
Ah, yes, I see.
You should have Officer Weathers look into the car's history. I'd be willing to wager that she just recently purchased it.
For what reason?
Newer cars have a catalytic converter which limits the amount of carbon monoxide produced. An older car was a better tool for the job.
Well, Holmes, it seems that even when you're not here, you see more than I do. And I trust your vacation is going well?
Yes, of course. I'm having all sorts of wonderful adventures over here. I'll have to fill you in when I get back. Perhaps you can put it in one of your little stories you like to write.
Yes, thanks.
Now, try to take a day off for once. I'll be back next week.
All right, see you then.
So, it sounds like you're quite the detective yourself.
Yes, it was fun to be the one finding the answers this time.
I'm sure it was. So, did the husband get anything from the insurance company?
No, there was a no suicide clause in the policy.
Ah, I see. Well, then you saved your client a good deal of money, didn't you?
Indeed.
So, do you have another one of your little stories prepared for next week?
Well, as a matter of fact, next week's story is about a missing teddy bear.
A missing teddy bear?
Yes, a little boy's teddy bear was stolen, and Holmes and I assisted the family with the case.
Well, I can't wait to find out what Holmes found interesting about a stuffed animal. I'll see you back here next week. Tonight's Watson Files adventure was written by Scott Strosahl. Spencer Holmes and Dr. Watson were played by Michael Helgens and Greg Kilberger. Additional voices were performed by Steve Rimpici. This is Craig Dahlen saying good night from Strobe Studios.